to just point out one tiny bit of history that resonates very loudly within me. And that is in 1920, you brought one of your rabbis to serve this noble congregation. His name was Rabbi Barnett Brickner. He was trained by the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, so his coming here also brought a new affiliation, because that was the year that Holy Blossom Temple came to be a part of the Union of American Hebrew Congregations, what is now called the Union for Reform Judaism. So I know you celebrate 155 years of devoted Jewish learning and living here in Toronto, but I want to celebrate 92 years of membership in the URJ. There's a small club of congregations that have that kind of history, that kind of commitment. It would be wrong for me to stand in this gorgeous sanctuary to not spend a moment thinking about Rabbi Maurice Eisendrath, who was actually the first president of the Union of American Hebrew Congregation. It was an executive secretary position. And where did Rabbi Eisendrath train to become the leader of North American Jewry? Right here, this building. Rabbi Splansky showed me if you stand on top of those steps right here. If you stand here, and Rabbi Maurice Eisendrath was a fairly tall individual, had a fairly strong voice, you actually do not need a microphone if you stand here, for he built this beautiful sanctuary so that people could learn from him and be inspired. And he not only taught and inspired us, he changed the movement dramatically. Rabbi Maurice Eisendrath is responsible for creating on his watch NFTY, the National Federation of Temple Youth. On his watch, the first Reform summer camp, Asrui, Economawalk in Wisconsin. On his watch, the Religious Action Center in Washington, D.C. I don't know what you got going up here in Toronto, but you got Rabbi Eisendrath ready to lead with such unbelievable strength that the institutions that he helped to shape still define the backbone of our movement today. It's important to remember just how many great rabbis have spoken and taught and led and comforted this holy congregation. I feel privileged to have known a number of the great rabbis of this congregation, and I share a personal story when I first met Rabbi Gunther Plaut of blessed memory. I was a rabbi of about 10 minutes. I was very young, and as my past president of Westchester Reformed Temple, I was a green banana. And I was at a meeting of something called the Worship Commission. We met on the 10th floor of the Union Building, 838 Fifth Avenue. And all these Gidulei Hador, all these giant rabbis sat in a big circle, and they waxed eloquent about the power of worship. Well, I sat there not really able to even find a way in, and there was one seat open. About halfway through that evening, a rabbi came in late and sat down right next to me. His name is Rabbi Gunther Plaut. He whispered in my ear, he said, "I don't think we know one another." And he put out his hand, and he welcomed me, and he said, "It's great to have you here." He had no idea who I was. He made all of us not just feel like we belong, but he gave us Torah, literally. And his memory and his light and his learning continue to emanate forth into the world. I served the Reform Movement's Commission on Religious Living with Rabbi Harvey Fields, and I have admired Rabbi Dov Marmer since I first met him in the late 80s. I've known Rabbi John Moskowitz since our years together in rabbinical school. We were both ordained in the same class, 1982, and I know this noble congregation joins me in honoring Rabbi Moskowitz's years of dedicated leadership in this venerable congregation. I must also say, please, that I've had the privilege, as the whole movement has had the privilege for the past weeks, to learn Torah with Rabbi Lansky, because she has written our 10 Minutes of Torah blog. I don't know how she's been leading the congregation, preparing for the high holidays, and writing Divrei Torah every week, but you have been teaching us beautiful Torah. And I also want to make sure to lift up Rabbi Tamashaw, who has recently joined our advancing and very critical campaign for youth engagement, and you here at Holy Blossom are going to help us reshape and reconnect. Ashrenu, how blessed you have been. Your rabbis have not only led you with strength, they have led our entire movement. They have led our people with inspiration.